Namaste everyone. Today we have with us Saji Narayanan, who is the author of the book Indian Women, Feminism and Women's Liberation. The book was initially written in Malayalam and then translated to English. Saji Narayanan is with us and he has worked with multiple organizations. He was the president of BMS, that is Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh. He was long associated with organizations like RSS, ABVP, Bharatiya Vichar Kendra, Tapasya, Swadeshi, Jagran Manch, Itihas Sankalan Yojana. He was a delegate of leading Indian Trade Union delegation to ILO conference, Geneva. He was the member of peace delegation to Pakistan and has visited Lahore and Karachi. He also visited multiple countries like Italy, Switzerland, Australia, France, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, and Japan. Namaste, Saji Narayanan.
Welcome.
So we would like to start with a few questions. I just read your book and I was thinking of first question I was thinking was, what made you write this book? What has made you think about writing such book?
That is an interesting question. Actually, when I was listening to many discussions, whenever issues related to women are coming up in India, those issues were looked at from the Western perspective. And when we come to the Indian perspective, it becomes very shallow, or sometimes it is tied up with some negative aspects like sati, child marriage, all these things. So actually, there should be a documentation of all the aspects related to Indian tradition and its view on women. So in that perspective, I have started writing, studying and writing this book in Malayalam. After that, Srimati Geeta Kumdeji, who is the Akhila Bharati Samyojika at that time, when she was visiting Kerala, she heard about that book and she used to tell me that you should immediately write it in English. Because of so many preoccupations, I could not do it in time. But now it has come out in English. That is one instigation for writing this book. Another is, you might have heard the name of Betty Friedan. She has written a book in 1960s called The Feminine Mystic. That book is considered to be a textbook on feminism. And the entire global feminist movement used it as a textbook for their work. And many of the issues discussed in that book were widely propagated. That book was discussing some issues, in which three prominent issues I will tell. One is motherhood is a painful thing for women. Second is man basically exploits woman. So woman should revolt against man. Third is family is a patriarchal institution that exploits a woman, and the exploitation process starts from family. So these are the three things to be deliberated. It should be opposed. That was the theme of that book. But Betty Friedan, after about 20 years, in 1981, she wrote a second book that is called The Second Stage. But in that book, she says, without motherhood, can I be really a woman? That was the question. That means it's a substantial change from the previous idea. Second thing is, man and woman should go together. That was another idea she proposed. Third is, family is an important institution in social life. That is also very important for social progress. So these three ideas have come. So how did she, how she got her mindset changed? What transformation has taken place? It was mainly because she was exposed, or she came across some aspects of Indian culture. From there, she got these ideas. That's why so I thought, what aspects have provoked her to bring a transformation in her thought. So those things should be studied. In that perspective also, I have worked, and this book is a result of such work.
Very nice. So It's really nice. I mean, you have used multiple shlokas also in the book. I have read them. So normally the idea of woman liberation is considered as a part of feminism. But we also, I mean, there is a difference between feminism and women liberation. So how do you differentiate them?
Many times, women's liberation is considered as a part of feminism. That mix-up is generally felt in many of the discourses. But actually, these two are developed in two different ideological backgrounds. Feminism developed in the Western countries, especially in the capitalist countries. But women's liberation developed in communist countries on the basis of Marxian ideology. When Communist International was formed, some women leaders who attended that international conference, they raised an issue that man and woman are two classes and man is exploiting women. So women should fight against man. This issue they have raised. But it was widely discussed in the Communist International in various forums. And the male leaders, they opposed this. They said there can only one class division, that is haves and have-nots. So economics should be the basis of class division, and gender should not be the basis of class division. If you bring a new class division inside economic class, then that will weaken the economic class division and the fight against this class exploitation. So they prohibited bringing a different class based on gender into communist movement. This was objected by the women leaders, and many women's leaders thought now they cannot remain in communism. So many of the women liberation leaders, they separated from communist ideology. Thereafter, these two, they combined with feminist movement, and then there was a mixing up of these two ideologies. Actually, at the inception, these were based on two ideological streams.
Excellent. Anji, actually, you were saying about feminism and liberations and all with the Marxist nature. So what is the Marxist liberation of women? So do you think nowadays, are they showing up in Bharat also? If they are not suggestible, then how can we stop such things penetrating to our culture? That is my question.
The basic problem is we have not developed Indian perspective on women in a systematic way. We have many stray ideas about Indian women, our ideas in Sanskrit literature. These are all there. But when we confront with the Western ideas, there we needs better tools in presenting these ideas. So that is missing. That is why we are not able to, in many places, we are not able to this thing. And when addressing the issues of women, many of even our people, they use the tools developed by feminism and this women's liberation people. Another thing is in the academic circle. Now there are many places, women's studies are there, Department of Women's Studies. There are also this Western feminism and Marxian feminism. These are taught, and Indian perspectives is very less in those things. So all these things combine together and make it that. So the only solution for this is we should have a systematic study of Indian perspective, and all these things aspects have to be documented. It should be brought in an academic level.
Okay, and one more thing, one major issue that is deliberated in Western discourse on feminism is some gender discrimination. How is this issue discussed in our book? I mean, are they able to find the Western feminism is find solutions to give the answers to such gender-related issues?
Now, one positive aspect of Western feminism is they have identified many of the issues, basic issues related to women. The only problem is they could not find a solution to all these problems. They have identified certain issues, and we can call this Those issues are the agenda of Western feminist movement. One is basically the gender difference. The gender difference means man and woman has two social statuses inside family, in society, everywhere. They have different roles to play. So that creates the ground for exploitation. So the gender difference should be removed. That is one issue they have discussed. Along with that, they have also discussed about making of gender, all these things. Second is the family is the basis of exploitation. So it is because the nature of family is patriarchal. So patriarchal families should be destroyed. Third is marriage is an institution which formalizes this exploitation process. So that also has to be opposed. Fourth one is motherhood. Motherhood is something that creates sufferings to the woman. So that should be avoided. Motherhood and pregnancy. Fifth one is they have discussed about property rights, voting rights, etc. Because in the European history, till about 1 century back, women did not have property rights generally. Only in 1886, in England, by legislation, property right was established to women. Till that day, if a woman marries, after that, after marriage, all her property goes into the name of her husband. So this has been changed by legislation in 1886 only. So these are the property and voting rights. Another thing is the role of male in the exploitation process of women. That also they have discussed. And seventh point is the woman is exploited everywhere. She is being exploited by nature. She is being exploited by man. She is exploited in family. She is exploited in entire society. And she is exploited in the workplaces. So everywhere she is being exploited. So harassment, exploitation, this is common everywhere. And eighth point is, hence, the woman has to get liberated from all these social aspects. So many feminist writers have said you should revolt against everything. You have to revolt against nature, you have to revolt against man, you have to revolt against family, you have to revolt against society, you have to revolt in the workplaces. So these are the issues, agendas they have identified, and they have gone deep into these things. The problem with their analysis is that they could not find a solution to these issues. Many feminist writers they have found many different types of solutions, but generally we can say there are two types of solution. One solution is women should imitate like man. They should dress like man. They should go for jobs which now man is dominated. These are the imitating the man. That was one line of solution. Another line of solution is fight against man, anti-male. These are the two general solutions they have brought. But these two solutions are wrong. That has proved in history. Now they are in utter confusion.
Really shocked to hear the Western view about women. So, I mean, there is a gender difference, in fact. But is the gender issue discussed in Indian tradition? Are we successful in addressing the gender issue?
Actually, in Western feminist discourses, the most fundamental issue is gender. How what is the making of gender? How gender differences arises? All these things. For that, they have used the tools from psychology, various branches of social sciences. They basically identify that sex and gender, these are two different things. Sex, these feminist writers, they say that sex is a biological construct. Biologically, man and woman are different. You cannot change it. By nature, it is like that. But gender is a human construct. It is constructed by the parents, it is constructed by the family members, it is constructed by the society. So there you can make some changes you can avoid. So how it is created? They uses the androgyny principle developed by Sigmund Freud. Freud says when a child is born, that child is having both male and female characteristics. After about 2 years, the child slowly understands, I am a boy, I am a girl. That is because the parents repeatedly says, you are a boy, you are a girl. You have got different roles to play. You have got different behaviors. So in that way, that gender feeling is slowly developed. Later, this is taken up by the society. All the social institutions also support this thing. This is how gender is developed. This is what they have said. Now let us stop it here and go to Indian discourse. How this gender issue has been addressed by our Indian scriptures, Indian thinkers, etc., our rishis. Now, when you look at the reference about women in Indian scriptures, the maximum reference is about this, how to transcend gender. We have successfully, very intelligently, we have discussed that and found solutions. For example, it is a part of our Indian culture to go beyond this gender. For example, Mahathi V in his famous kavyam, this Kumar Sambhav, he discussed about the characteristics of Bhagavan Shiva. He explains many characteristics and says Bhagavan Shiva is a Sajjan, is a gentleman. So what is the characteristic of a Sajjan? He says he is beyond Stri Purusha Bheda Bhava. That is the quality of a Sajjan. So this is a part of our culture. If you are a Sajjan, necessarily you have to cross, you have to transcend this gender feeling. So that way it is there. There we find many instances where this common man doesn't feel any difference between boy or girl, anything. In Vishnu Purana, there's the story of a poor Brahmin. Brahmin did not have any child, so he conducted puja of Vishnu. After long years of puja, Vishnu was he presented himself before this Brahmin and his wife, and he said, the Vishnu said, I am satisfied with your worship and other things. So, what do you want? Do you want a boy or a girl? This was the question asked. It's a very difficult question to ask. What to say? But the answer given by this Brahmin is very important. The Brahmin said, if it's a boy, I will think it is the form of Vishnu. If it is a girl, I will think it is the form of Mahalakshmi. So I have no difference between boy or a girl. So there are several stories where you will find that this gender, the common man had a feeling of beyond gender. So that was a part of our culture.
So my question to you is, what should be the agenda, or what is the agenda or characteristics of a serious discourse on women?
Now, when we look at Indian discourse on women, there are many aspects coming up. For example, we have discussed about the equality of man and women. Man and women are equal, and in all aspects, their equality has to be recognized. This is a part of Indian culture. But how did it develop? It has got a philosophical background. First time this discussion comes up in Aradhana Upanishad. There it has given the model of a split P. When you take a P and it is split into two equal, it becomes two equal parts. One is man, one is woman. So the split P model is presented in Bharatiya Upanishad. With that model, he explains. Primarily, there was only Brahma. Then Brahma divided into two. One became Sri and one became Purusha. In the same way, Prajapati, in another scripture, it says primarily there was only, in the initial days, there was only Prajapati. He also split into two. So this type of thing is there right from the beginning. This is one speciality. Second is equal opportunity in all social aspects. This was there. You will find every social sphere and high respect given to women. Even women was worshipped. The first worship of women was done by Mahavishnu itself. He worshipped his wife Mahalakshmi. The worship of women started from that tradition. Then another thing is a lead role of women in house. Is also very, very, very highly discussed subject. What is the role of women in family? So there you will have to go to Rigveda. Rigveda is the first literature which was written about more than 5,000 years. Some say it is 10,000 years back it was written. There, a female Rishika Sri Savitri, has written a sukta called, it's very famous sukta, Vivaha Sukta. You might have heard. In Vivaha Sukta, a girl is married and she goes to the husband's house. There, the relatives of husband is welcoming that girl with the Ek mantra. What is it? Samrajni Shushuro Bhava. It's about telling about each and every member of the family and says you should be an empress of that particular. Bahu says, Aham Kedur, I have become the leader of this family. So it is her experience. I have already become the leader of this family. Then the third aspect is, at that time, it will be a very different village. So the entire village people are introduced, she is introduced to the entire village people. So a sabha is called. And in that sabha, this Bahu has to give a bhashan. She has to give a lecture. What does it mean? Only an educated girl can give lecture. So only after education, a girl is married. It was at the time of Rigveda, the dawn of human civilization. You can call it this Rigveda period. In India, this was the condition. So the lead role in house, that also explained. Another aspect that is discussed in the Western feminism is what is the role of women in kitchen? Who is to do the cooking work? There also Brihaspati discuss it in detail, and he proposes, he make it a rule that ekapakena vasatam. Both should combinedly cook. That is, he has made a rule. Brihaspati has made a rule. So to that extent we have discussed. Another thing is the greatness of motherhood. Greatness of motherhood, you will find lot of discussions in their Indian literature. And every other woman is considered as a mother in our Indian culture. This has been followed right from the beginning till this century. Even that has been considered. This considering every woman as mother or every other wife as mother has started from Parvati. Subramanya was the son of Parvati, and Subramanya was very naughty. So while he was a boy, small boy, he started harassing the Devis in that place. Then all the Devis came together and complained to Parvati. Then Parvati called Subramanya near her and asked to touch her. When he touched, then asked her to look at the Devis. All Devis were appearing like Parvati, his own mother. From that moment, Madhurvat Paradareshu, that mantra, that sloga was, from that day onwards, this concept has become a part of our Indian culture. That is the greatness of motherhood. Then another peculiarity of Indian culture is the property is exclusively at the hand of this woman. This is called Tridana. There was a confusion that dowry is translated as Tridana in many Indian languages. That is not correct. Supreme Court has to, by a judgment, say that dowry is not Sridhana. To that extent, Supreme Court has to say, because everywhere that was there. Dowry and Sridhana are totally opposite types. Sridhana means exclusively the property of women. That is called Sridhana. Not even the husband, not the father or brother. Nobody can even touch it. If anybody touch our Dharma Shastra prescribes punishment for such thing. So that is the property rights given to our people. Whereas only till recent European history. Another is high education given to women. A woman is compulsory, she has to learn home science. Our home science includes 64 arts. It includes Vadya, dance, music, all types of arts have to be learned and before marriage. So 64 arts is compulsory for, and so high education is there. Another exclusive characteristics of Indian woman is the right of Swayamvara. She can choose her own husband. This is there. So there also a change you will see in our literature. In the ancient literature, it was all the women directly selects her husband. So this is called Icha Swayamvaram. But later what happened? Only an intelligent woman can select such a husband. Many people may be average, below intelligence. So such people able to make the right choice. So another type of Swayamvara came into existence, that is called Savyavastha Swayamvara. Many times a fitting person has to be found by the parents. So they help the girl to find someone. For example, Sita Swayamvaram. Sita Swayamvaram is a Savyavastha Swayamvaram. There are some one condition is put. Those who raise the Dhanush, only that person can be her husband. That condition was put. All the kings came and finally Sri Rama succeeded. Why such a condition was put? Why such a vyavastha was put? Because when Sita was a child, she was playing there. Then in the corner of the palace, this bow was kept. So he slightly raised that bow. Janaka, the father Janaka saw it. Then Janaka thought, if somebody is going to marry, at least he also should be able to raise this thing. So that condition was put. So this is the Icha Swayamvar or Savyavastha. These two types of Swayamvara. This is important in the time of love jihad, etc. This is also very important. Similarly, political rights. We will find a long tradition of queues in India. And when you look at Lalitopakyanam, it's a part of Brahmanda Purana. There you will find the Lalita Chakravartini. And the entire staff were women. Her ministers were women. All the generals, military generals, they were women. All her aides, they were all women. It was ruled by all women. So that also we will find. So it's that way. Another thing is, recently in the Western discourses, you will find a new branch of law developing that is called gender jurisprudence. New branch developing upon women rights, women laws, etc. Long back, we have developed a very well developed gender jurisprudence in India. Many things are there, just like property rights, then crimes related to women. If a woman commits crime, how he should be punished? He should not be thrown out of the house. That is made compulsory. All these are there. And finally, you will find women is a symbol of Shakti, power. That is there. There you will find a paradoxical word. We call women empowerment. But in India, women is power. So power empowerment, it's a paradoxical term. Women herself is the symbol of power. So calling empowerment, this is a paradox. So these are all things that we find in it. So all these characteristics you will find in our Indian discourse on women.
Another question comes to my mind after listening all this. Did we ever have patriarchal system in India? And if the answer is yes, then till when did we have it, and how did we lose it?
Basically, Indian culture is a matriarchal culture. In West, there was no matriarchal aesthetics, but in India, we have developed a matriarchal aesthetic. This is a large area of study for all of us because a major part of Indian art is matriarchal. I will tell you one example. Peter Brook is a famous drama director in Europe. He wanted to direct the drama Mahabharata. It's very famous, Mahabharata. But he found a difficult situation. How can he show the entire Mahabharata war? That is the largest war in human history. How can he show it in the stage? It's very difficult. In a small stage, how can he show? But somehow he has to show that also. That is because of Mahabharata war, you cannot show Mahabharata. So he discussed with many people. Somebody pointed that if you go to India, you will find a solution. Then he came to India and he came to Kerala. Kerala, there is a peculiar matriarchal aesthetics called Mudiyate. Mudiyate is related to Kali and Dariga war. It's a thing. There, in temple, the Kali temple, there this art form is shown. There, what happens at the time of Kali and Dariga war? It is a very fierce war. There, what happens? The entire people who assemble there, they divide into two. One section becomes a part of Kali, another section becomes this. Through this audience participation, the war is shown in an excellent way. The entire audience also enjoys that war. So he adopted that system too. He took this thing to Europe. So matriarchal aesthetics is very much advanced in India. Another thing is how matriarchal system is a part of our day-to-day culture. Today we find when that also has to come in Indian also. When you introduce a lady in some club or something, who is she? She is Mrs. Joseph. Mrs. Joseph. She doesn't have an identity of her own. So in that way, they are identified. But in Indian tradition, what we have got, men are identified in the name of women. Radha Krishna. It is a male name. It is Radha, wife of Krishna. That is not the meaning. Radha Sameta Krishna. That is the meaning. Similarly, Umapati. What is it? Uma, wife of the husband of Sita Sameta Rama. That way, there are several such matriarchal names in India. So, in that way, it's a part of this thing. Similarly, many leading personalities in Indian scriptures, they are known by their mother's name. Aidara is a Dalit Mahila in Rigveda, and her son is Rishi Aidara, very famous. Yes, created Upanishad also. So, Rishi Aidara. Pandavas are known as Kaunteya, Kundi's son. So, in that you will find a lot of Ashwini Devas also known by the mother's name. So, there are several things. So, it's a matriarchal system. Matriarchy is a part of our culture.
So, you are saying about Bharat. In Bharat, we have the matriarchal system, but the role of women in home and unpaid homework, then patriarchal families, etc., are some debated issues in the Marxist feminist movement. So, how these are addressed in our Bharatiya tradition? So, in our country,
we have high ideas about women in our scriptures, but in a later period, because of historical reasons, there was a blatant deterioration of the status of women. This is a fact. We cannot deny it. Why such deterioration has taken place? I have devoted one chapter for finding the reasons, etc. There are many people have studied it because of foreign aggression, because of some Dharma Shastras who later, because of the social circumstances, changed the status of women. Then Buddhist literature, many times it has presented like that. So many aspects are there. Because of historical reasons, this has happened. So a matriarchal family has turned to patriarchal, because in a war-torn situation, naturally this will happen. So mostly you will find this type of deterioration has taken place in the border areas where there were frequent wars. Whereas those areas where wars were not there, comparatively society was very safe. There the matriarchal system is still continuing. For example, Kerala. Kerala is far away from these borders and all these things. Kerala is also many communities, they are following the matriarchal tradition, legally, etc. Only the lineage of property rights that goes only through women. This is there. Similarly, in many tribal areas, you will find this matriarchal system. It's all there. But because of historical reasons, this had happened. Many times in the discourses, these deterioration aspects are highlighted and presents Indian women in that perspective. That is not correct. Actually, our rishis and our acharyas, all these people presented the right picture about women. That has to be brought again. All social reformers, they change this position by citing the words of rishis. This first started during the Bhakti movement. During Bhakti movement, the women writers, they started this Swami Vivekananda and all other people, even during the freedom movement, Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, that type of many social movements. They all used our scriptural sanctions for changing the situation, changing the deteriorated status of women. For that purpose, they used all these things and brought back the status to, they reformed the social situation. So once again, we have to reiterate all these aspects and address the women issues in India. We cannot address the women issues with Western ideas. Western theoretical models cannot be a solution for Indian women.
Excellent, excellent. Then, if you see the Marxist nature, then according to Frederick Engel, if women go for work, then the family will get dissolved and parents and children demoralized, and family work culture will not be balanced. Such sort of theories were came to picture. Parallelly, they think that household work is not economically productive. So such type of things have come to picture in Marxist theory. So then, what is the Bharatiya view on working woman and homemaker?
Actually, Marx has not stated much on women. He made some reference about women to a letter to his daughters. That became a lot of controversy. They created some controversy. Engels also has made many statements about women, which are all controversial. So all these women's liberation people who separated from Marxian movement, they are highly critical of Engels. For example, Engels says, women going to work is unnatural. It is not a family, is a natural institution. You are going against that thing, is unnatural. Another thing is, if a wife is employed, then the husband will become a zero. She will dominate the husband. So that is also wrong. So she should not go to this thing. Then he and Marx also praised capitalism for giving high status. Capitalist countries give high status to women. That also he has said. Then Engels predicted that if class struggle, etc., succeed, eliminate property rights or private properties eliminated, then automatically women's condition will be improved. But in none of the communist countries, this condition of women has improved. So in that way, that is there. The most controversial thing had happened that is not coming up in the discourses in India is that in Communist Manifesto, they made a very controversial statement. There is a wording is there. What is that? There should be official and open wife sharing in a communist society. This they said. Then all the women leaders says, why don't you talk about husband sharing? only by sharing. This is it. Then they wanted to remove that, but still you will find in the Communist Manifesto, still that statement is there. But when it is converted into many languages, this Communist Party in India they have changed their wordings in a different thing. Still, that is there. So these are the immature statements, ideas about this thing. In India also, women going for work, her household duties, everything has been discussed. Basically, man and woman has two roles to play. That is why nature has made them in two different ways, two roles to play. That roles have to be there. And Jagannathan discuss about her role in family. Western society, you will find there is a lot of discourse on unpaid homework. And Jagannathan in India, long back, discussed about the unpaid homework. And he says, Stridhana, the property exclusively for women, that is a reward for unpaid homework. To that extent, we have discussed about these things.
One question more I have. How do we convince our next generation about our Indian view of women and bring back their confidence in Indian view?
One thing is, it has to be, this Indian view on women has to be a part of education. A question was asked to Swami Vivekananda. How can you change the status of women? How can you empower them? All this was asked. Then Swami Vivekananda said, you need not empower these women. You just give them education. Then they will make change themselves. They will bring transformation. They will bring revolutionary transformation among themselves. Only give education to them. So proper education is the solution for all these things. So in the educational curriculum, we should definitely add this thing, how to respect women. It should be a part of our culture. All these things has to be there. The boy should look at a girl with a respectful eye. Only by a cultural transformation, you can bring changes in the society. That's why from Rigveda onwards, Dharma is the value-based social aspect. Dharma has been made the basis of everything. So a dharmic change is required. Even Sangha movement also, it is due to dharmic changes in re-establishing dharma in the society. That is the solution for everything.
That's fine, Ji. But you are saying giving the education to the women will solve all these issues. But they are falling in love jihad, and they are bringing the live-in relationship things and all to our culture. So how you justify your answer in this regard?
What is the education we are giving? This is the basic thing. This is the basic thing. You are giving a colonial, you are following a colonial system of education. For example, you said about love jihad. From Kerala, one girl was converted into Islam. Her name is Nusha. She was asked, have you read the Bhagavad Gita? She has not even heard about that thing. She doesn't know the characters of Ramayana. She doesn't know anything about Hindutva. So it's only natural that if because of some finding a boy, he forgets everything and goes to that thing. So it's only natural. So once you give education to these people, these boys and girls, then their fundamentals will be established. Then there will not be changes. So education is what education you are giving. That is more important.
Do you think more work needs to be done in understanding the Indian view about women?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. All these issues which we find identified with Indian women, Indian perspective, each aspect needs to be further studies, further research, everything is there. For example, gender jurisprudence. It's a new this thing. How gender jurisprudence is beautifully in depth dealt with in our scriptures. This is a big area of studies. I referred about matriarchal ethics. We have to study in details. We have to bring out the contents of these things. So matriarchal aspects of our culture, lot of studies are required. Research is required. the position of women in Rig Veda, that just bringing out certain mantras is not sufficient. How they are relevant to today's world, that is very much important. So once you go deep into all these aspects, then you can very well tell to the world, because the future world, the perspective of women that we, India, has to propose to the entire world, that we can boldly say.
Dhanyavad Narayananji for answering our questions patiently. I would like everyone to read this book for sure, because now it is available in English. I would recommend everyone to read the book Indian Women, Feminism and Women's Liberation. Dhanyavad Narayananji. We all will meet next time with a new book. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much.